My beloved child, stop everything for a moment and listen carefully, because this message begins with a detail you were never expecting to hear. Today, August 8th, the name of Archangel Michael enters this story with a message that feels impossible to ignore. Open this now. But before you decide what this means, understand that this narration is a dramatic spiritual story, not a factual claim that an angel is literally speaking to you. Now stay with me, because something huge is waiting for you inside the mystery surrounding one person who has suddenly started looking at your life differently. You may have no idea who they are. You may not even realize that someone with significant resources, influence, and an entirely different lifestyle has become curious about your potential. And that is where the story becomes strange. Why would someone who seemingly has everything suddenly become interested in someone they barely know? What did they notice? What did they hear? And what happened recently that caused them to look twice? Don't skip, because the answer is not going to begin with money. It begins with something much more valuable, something about you that cannot simply be purchased. There is a reason Michael is portrayed as emotional in the title, and it is not because you have been abandoned or forgotten. In this story, his tears represent the urgency of a message you may have repeatedly ignored. You have been underestimating yourself. You may have become so accustomed to struggling, waiting, adapting, and surviving ordinary disappointments that you stopped recognizing your own potential. And somewhere outside your usual circle, someone may have noticed exactly what you have been overlooking. Imagine a wealthy stranger hearing about your work, your character, your ability, or one decision you made when nobody expected you to make it. At first, they are curious. Then they become surprised. Then they ask a question that changes everything. Who is this person? Stay till the end, because this is where the title begins connecting piece by piece. The millionaire in this story is not simply impressed by appearance, status, or luck. They are intrigued by something they believe is difficult to find: authenticity, determination, unusual talent, or a quality you have almost stopped noticing in yourself. Something huge is waiting for you in that realization, because the shocking part may not be that someone powerful noticed you. The shocking part may be why they noticed you. And now listen closely, because the first real clue is about to appear. Think about the thing you have been doing quietly while believing nobody important was paying attention. Maybe it is your creativity. Maybe it is your ability to solve problems. Maybe it is the way you communicate, build, organize, create, lead, or keep moving when circumstances become complicated. Perhaps you thought it was ordinary because you have been doing it for so long. But imagine someone seeing that same quality from the outside and thinking, that is rare. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because the next part of this story will reveal what supposedly caught this person's attention and why their reaction was stronger than expected. And remember the symbolic urgency behind August 8th, not a guaranteed prediction, but a dramatic reminder to stop dismissing opportunities simply because they arrive in a form you did not expect. You may be waiting for a loud announcement, while the first clue is something incredibly subtle: a name appearing twice, an unexpected inquiry, an unusual opportunity, or someone suddenly asking about you. Something huge is waiting for you in the mystery, but before you chase the answer, remember this. The person with money may have noticed your potential, but the real question is whether you will finally notice it too. Something has shifted behind the scenes, my beloved child, and the strangest part is that you may be the last person to notice it. In this story, the millionaire did not suddenly become interested because of a random coincidence. Someone mentioned your name. Then came a second mention. Then a question: what exactly does this person do? That question opened a door nobody expected. Stay till the end, because the reason they became curious is more surprising than the fact that they are curious at all. They were not looking for someone famous. They were not searching for someone with a perfect background. They were searching for something that money could not easily create, someone with an uncommon combination of ability, character, and persistence. And when your name entered the conversation, something made them pause. Don't skip, because the story now moves toward the detail that supposedly shocked them. Perhaps they saw something you created. Perhaps someone described how you handled an unexpected situation. Perhaps they heard about a decision you made when there was nothing obvious to gain. Whatever the trigger was, it caused them to look deeper. And suddenly, the person who seemed completely outside your world was asking questions about you. Now imagine the conversation continuing. How long has this person been doing this? Why haven't more people noticed? Who else knows about them? Those questions reveal something important. The millionaire is not simply interested in what you have already accomplished. They are trying to understand what you could become. That is the twist. They may have encountered people with impressive resumes, polished appearances, and enormous networks countless times. But something about you felt different. Maybe you kept working without recognition. Maybe you continued creating after people ignored you. Maybe you solved a problem everyone else had overlooked. Maybe your story showed resilience without you ever turning it into a performance. Something huge is waiting for you in this part, because the attention in this fictional story is not being presented as a guarantee of money or sudden wealth. It represents an unexpected opportunity to be seen. And sometimes being seen by the right person can completely change how you see yourself. If this message is resonating with you, let it remind you that your value does not begin when someone wealthy notices you. Your value existed before anyone noticed. Stay till the end, because the next clue is where the millionaire's curiosity turns into a decision. Here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Imagine the millionaire receiving one more piece of information about you. And suddenly becoming quiet. Not because something is wrong, but because the detail contradicts what they assumed. They expected someone surrounded by attention, but discovered someone working quietly. They expected confidence without struggle, but discovered a person who had learned through setbacks. They expected someone chasing recognition, but found someone focused on the work itself. And that is what shocked them. Don't skip, because the next stage of the story is not about whether they will simply watch from a distance. It is about what happens when curiosity becomes an opportunity. Stay till the end, because the next message will reveal the symbolic "open this now" moment, the moment when something you almost ignored becomes impossible to overlook. And if you have been waiting for life to suddenly validate you, remember this line: the right opportunity does not create your potential. It reveals what was already there. So keep your eyes open, stay alert to legitimate opportunities, and don't let excitement make you careless. The millionaire may have money, but the real treasure in this story is the possibility that someone finally recognized something you had been carrying quietly all along. The conversation changed the moment your name was mentioned again, and this time the millionaire did not simply listen, they wanted to know the story behind you. My beloved child, imagine a room where people are discussing opportunities, talent, and potential, and someone suddenly asks, "But what makes this person different?" That question is the turning point. Stay till the end, because the answer is not about how much money you have, how many people know you, or how impressive your life looks from the outside. It is about something far less obvious. Perhaps someone showed them something you created when nobody was applauding. Perhaps they heard about the way you handled a difficult decision. Perhaps they noticed that you continued building when attention was low. Don't skip, because the millionaire's surprise in this fictional story comes from discovering that your strongest quality may be something you barely recognize anymore. You became so accustomed to carrying it that you forgot it was unusual. Your discipline. Your creativity. Your patience. Your ability to learn. Your instinct to keep improving. And suddenly, someone who has met countless ambitious people is asking why nobody told them about you sooner. Then something even more unexpected happens. The millionaire asks to see more. Not because they are ready to hand you a fortune, and not because this story promises instant success, but because they want evidence of what they have heard. One piece becomes another. One achievement leads to another question. One detail reveals another side of your character. And the more they discover, the more their original assumption changes. They thought they were looking at someone with potential. Now they are wondering whether they have discovered someone who has been underestimated for far too long. Something huge is waiting in that realization, because this is where the message stops being about the millionaire and starts becoming about you. How many times have you dismissed your own progress because it didn't happen quickly enough? How many times have you compared your beginning with someone else's finished result? How many times did you almost stop because nobody seemed to notice? Stay till the end, because the next revelation is connected to exactly that period of silence. The quiet season may not have meant nothing was happening. Sometimes you are building before anyone has a reason to pay attention. And now comes the moment the title has been leading toward. Imagine the millionaire looking at the final piece of information and saying, "Wait, they did all of that without the resources we assumed they had?" That is what shocks them. Not perfection. Not privilege. Not some mysterious shortcut. The contrast. They realize that much of what impressed them was built without the advantages they expected you to have. Don't skip, because that changes the question completely. Instead of asking, "What can this person do with an opportunity?" they begin asking, "What could this person become if the right opportunity finally appeared?" My beloved child, let that question stay with you. You don't need a millionaire to validate your future, but you do need to stop treating your potential like it is insignificant. Stay till the end, because the next part moves toward the moment when attention becomes contact, and contact becomes a choice. Something huge may be waiting in the story. But the real twist is that you may have been preparing for it long before you ever knew someone was watching. The unexpected message arrives when you have almost stopped expecting anything at all. My beloved child, imagine your ordinary day continuing exactly as usual when suddenly a name, opportunity, or introduction appears that seems completely disconnected from your normal world. You look at it once. Then again. And for a moment, you wonder whether you should even take it seriously. Stay till the end, because this is where the fictional story takes its sharpest turn. The millionaire who had been quietly asking questions about you has finally reached the point where curiosity becomes action. But they do not begin by offering you something enormous. Instead, they ask one simple question: would this person be willing to talk? Don't skip, because that question carries more weight than it appears to. It means someone has moved from watching to considering. Someone has decided your potential deserves a closer look. And suddenly, everything you thought was happening quietly seems connected: the work nobody applauded, the skill you kept developing, the moments you almost gave up, and the choices you made when nobody important was watching. Something huge is waiting in this moment, but remember, in real life, genuine opportunities should always be verified carefully. Never send money, personal information, passwords, or private documents simply because someone claims to be wealthy or influential. Now the story becomes even more surprising. Imagine the millionaire's team presenting your name again, and someone in the room asks, "Are we sure this is the same person?" They expected a completely different profile. They expected someone already surrounded by recognition. Instead, they discovered someone whose strongest qualities were hidden beneath an ordinary surface. That contrast is what creates the shock. Stay till the end, because the millionaire's interest is no longer based on one impressive moment. It is based on a pattern. They see consistency. They see potential. They see someone who continued when attention disappeared. And perhaps the most powerful part is this: you didn't build yourself for their approval. You were doing what you were doing because something inside you refused to stop. If this message is meaningful to you, share it with someone who needs the reminder that being overlooked today does not automatically mean being overlooked forever. And if you enjoy this kind of motivational spiritual storytelling, stay connected for the next message. But don't let the excitement make you careless. Real opportunities come with clear details, verifiable identities, and reasonable expectations. A wealthy person's interest should never make you ignore common sense. Then comes the sentence that changes the atmosphere completely: we want to understand what this person is capable of when they finally have access to the right environment. My beloved child, listen carefully to that idea. The opportunity in this story is not presented as a guaranteed fortune. It represents access. Access to knowledge, mentorship, connections, resources, or a room you previously believed was closed to you. Something huge is waiting in the next stage because the millionaire has discovered something they did not expect. Your biggest advantage was never what you possessed. It was what you continued developing when you possessed very little. Don't skip, because the next part will reveal the detail that makes this fictional millionaire hesitate before making their next move. They are impressed, but they are also asking one final question about you, and the answer could determine whether this unexpected attention becomes a genuine opportunity or simply another forgotten moment. Stay till the end, because sometimes the most important door does not open when someone notices you. It opens when you are finally ready to recognize your own value when they do. The question in that room is no longer, who is this person? It becomes something far more personal. Why have they remained so unnoticed for so long? My beloved child, imagine the millionaire reviewing everything they have learned about you and discovering one detail that changes their entire perspective. You were not waiting for someone powerful to rescue you. You were already building, learning, creating, improving, and carrying responsibilities without applause. Stay till the end, because this is where the story becomes emotionally powerful. The millionaire expected to find someone desperate for recognition, but instead they discovered someone who had learned how to continue without it. Don't skip, because that contrast is what shocks them most. They begin to understand that your greatest quality may not be talent alone. It may be endurance. You kept going through seasons when progress was difficult to see. You continued when nobody was promising you a reward. You learned from moments that could have made you quit. And suddenly, the millionaire sees something that money cannot manufacture instantly: a person who has already developed the mindset required to handle opportunity. Something huge is waiting in that realization, because perhaps you have been looking at your slow seasons as evidence that nothing was happening, while this story asks you to see them differently. Maybe you were becoming prepared before you were ever noticed. Then comes the detail that makes the millionaire stop and reread your story. They discover that one of your biggest achievements happened during a period when you had almost no external support. No powerful network. No famous introduction. No special shortcut. Just your decision to continue. And suddenly they ask, what would happen if someone gave this person the right resources? That question is more important than any promise of money. Because the real opportunity is not someone handing you a finished future. It is someone recognizing that you might be capable of building something much larger with the right support. Stay till the end, because this is where the emotional connection to the title becomes stronger. The fictional Archangel Michael message is essentially saying, stop waiting for validation before you take yourself seriously. You may never meet a millionaire. You may never receive an unexpected offer. But you can still become the person who is ready when a legitimate opportunity arrives. And if an unexpected person reaches out claiming to have wealth or influence, verify everything before trusting them. Genuine opportunities don't require blind faith, rushed decisions, or private financial information. Your excitement should never become more powerful than your judgment. Now imagine the millionaire making one final observation. They don't even seem to understand how valuable this quality is. That is the moment the story turns inward. My beloved child, perhaps you have become so familiar with your own strengths that you stopped seeing them as strengths. You think everyone can learn what you learned. Everyone can keep going. Everyone can create under pressure. Everyone can start again. But not everyone does. Something huge is waiting for you in that realization. Not necessarily a sudden fortune, but a new understanding of your own capacity. Don't skip, because the next stage will bring the most unexpected question yet. If this millionaire actually gets the chance to speak with you, what will they ask first? Will they ask about your past? Your skills? Your goals? Or will they ask the question that reveals exactly why they became interested in you? Stay till the end, because the answer is closer than you think. And remember the deeper message beneath all the drama. Opportunities may arrive through unexpected people, but your preparation is what determines whether you can recognize and use them wisely. The person who has been quietly building may eventually become the person everyone suddenly wants to know. The question finally arrives, and it is not the question you expected. My beloved child, after all the information, the conversations, and the unexpected discoveries, imagine the millionaire sitting quietly and asking, what does this person actually want to build? Not, how much money do they need? Not, how popular are they? But, what do they see that other people don't see? Stay till the end, because this is where the entire story turns from being about someone noticing you into being about what you will do if you are finally given the chance to be heard. Don't skip, because the millionaire is not impressed by a perfect answer. They are listening for something deeper, a vision that existed before anyone offered support. Maybe you have an idea you have never fully explained. Maybe you have a goal you kept private because people around you didn't understand it. Maybe you have been building something small while imagining something much bigger. And suddenly, someone with resources is asking you to explain it. Something huge is waiting in that moment because you realize you don't need to become someone else to deserve a seat at the table. You simply need to clearly understand what you are bringing to it. Then the millionaire asks another question: what would you do if you knew you had the resources to try? That question hits differently. Because perhaps you have spent years thinking about limitations first. What if I fail? What if nobody supports me? What if I don't have enough money? What if I'm not experienced enough? What if people laugh? But now imagine being asked to think from the opposite direction. What if you actually tried? What if you gave your strongest idea a real chance? What if you stopped measuring your potential by your current circumstances? Stay till the end, because the next part of this story is where the millionaire becomes genuinely surprised by your answer. You don't ask for luxury. You don't describe an extravagant lifestyle. You talk about building something meaningful. You talk about creating opportunities. You talk about helping your family. You talk about becoming independent. You talk about making something that lasts. And that is when the millionaire realizes why your story stood out. Something huge is waiting in that contrast. The person with enormous resources is intrigued by someone whose first instinct is not simply to consume resources, but to use them purposefully. And now the most unexpected moment begins. The millionaire leans back and says, "That's exactly what I wanted to hear. My beloved child, remember that this is a fictional motivational narration, not a guarantee that a millionaire is secretly preparing an offer for you." But within the story, this sentence becomes the turning point. Don't skip, because the millionaire's next words reveal what truly impressed them. "I wasn't looking for someone who needed everything. I was looking for someone who knew what they would do with an opportunity." Stay till the end, because that is the difference between wishing and being prepared. You may not control who notices you, but you can control whether you are ready when someone does. Build the skill. Improve the idea. Learn the details. Keep your work organized. Know what you want. And if an unexpected opportunity appears, investigate it carefully instead of rushing because the story sounds exciting. Something huge may be waiting in your future, but the most powerful revelation is not that a wealthy person could notice you. It is that you may finally stop waiting for somebody else to tell you that you are capable. The moment you understand your own potential, you stop begging the world to recognize you, and start becoming impossible to ignore. The room becomes completely different after your answer, because the millionaire realizes they have been looking at the wrong question all along. My beloved child, they were not trying to discover whether you could become successful. They were trying to discover whether you already possessed the mindset to build something meaningful if the right opportunity appeared. Stay till the end, because this is where the story reaches a surprising turn. Imagine the millionaire saying, "There is one thing about this person that money cannot buy." Don't skip, because that sentence is not about talent, popularity, or status. It is about character. They noticed that you kept learning when nobody was applauding. You kept improving when results were slow. You kept showing up when there was no guarantee anyone would notice. And suddenly, the things you once considered ordinary become the exact qualities that make you stand out. Something huge is waiting inside this realization. Perhaps your greatest advantage was never what you had. Perhaps it was the fact that you learned how to keep moving without having everything you wanted. The millionaire has met people who had every resource available, yet still lacked direction. And now they are fascinated by someone who had fewer resources but kept developing anyway. Then comes a sentence that makes everyone in the room pause. I want to know what they would build if nobody told them what was possible. My beloved child, imagine hearing that question directed toward you. What would you build? What would you create? What problem would you solve? What would you finally attempt if you stopped measuring yourself against people who started with advantages you never had? Stay till the end, because the answer may reveal something about you that you have been hiding even from yourself. Maybe you have a vision that sounds too ambitious when you say it out loud. Maybe you've been waiting until everything is perfect before beginning. Maybe you have allowed other people's doubts to become your own doubts. Don't skip, because the millionaire's interest in this story is now becoming symbolic of something bigger: recognition. Not recognition of your current position, but recognition of your potential. And that distinction matters. Someone can notice your talent today, but only you can decide what you develop tomorrow. So if an opportunity appears, be prepared. Learn. Ask questions. Verify the details. Protect your information. Never let an exciting story pressure you into making an impulsive decision. Real opportunity can withstand careful thinking. And then comes the revelation that changes the entire story. The millionaire doesn't actually want to know what you have. They want to know what you refuse to give up on. That is why they are shocked. They discover that beneath your ordinary circumstances is a person with an unusually strong reason to keep building. Maybe you have experienced rejection and continued. Maybe people underestimated you and you kept learning. Maybe you started with almost nothing and still found a way to create progress. Something huge is waiting for you in the next stage, because this is where the attention stops being about someone wealthy and starts becoming a mirror. What if the world has not been ignoring you as much as you have been ignoring your own progress? What if you have become so focused on what is missing that you stop noticing what you already built? Stay till the end, because the next part reveals the one detail that makes this millionaire decide whether to move closer or walk away. And that decision will not be based on how impressive your life looks from the outside. It will depend on one thing you cannot fake for long: whether your vision is real enough to survive when nobody is watching. The millionaire finally asks the question nobody else thought to ask: what would you do if nobody ever rewarded you for it? My beloved child, that question cuts deeper than money because it separates genuine purpose from temporary excitement. Imagine sitting across from someone who could potentially open doors you never had access to and being told to forget the reward for a moment. What would still matter to you? What would you still create? What problem would you still want to solve? Stay till the end, because the answer is what makes the millionaire look at you differently. Don't skip, because they expected you to immediately talk about money, status, comfort, or recognition. Instead, you talk about something that matters to you personally. Maybe you want to build something your family can be proud of. Maybe you want to create opportunities for other people. Maybe you want to turn an idea into something real. Maybe you simply want the freedom to control your own future. Something huge is waiting inside that answer, because the millionaire realizes your motivation existed before their attention did. You weren't trying to impress them. You were trying to become better than the version of yourself you were yesterday. Then comes the second surprise. The millionaire asks about your biggest failure, expecting embarrassment or excuses. But you don't hide it. You explain what happened, what you learned, and what you changed afterward. Suddenly, the conversation becomes completely different. They realize that your story isn't built around perfection. It is built around adaptation. You know how to learn from experience. You know how to adjust. You know how to keep moving. Stay till the end, because this is the quality that can matter more than a polished image. Don't skip, because the millionaire has seen countless people who look impressive when everything goes well. What they rarely see is someone who can remain focused when the results are uncertain. That is what makes them curious about you. And the fictional message behind Archangel Michael becomes clearer: the urgency is not, a millionaire will definitely make you rich. The urgency is, stop waiting for external validation before taking your own potential seriously. If a legitimate opportunity appears, investigate it carefully. Ask who is involved. Ask what is expected. Verify the identity and the details. A real opportunity should survive questions. You never need to sacrifice your judgment just because someone claims to have wealth or influence. Now the millionaire makes the decision that nobody expected. They don't immediately offer you a fortune. Instead, they say, I want to see what happens when this person gets access to something they have never had before. My beloved child, that sentence changes the entire direction of the story. It means they are interested in your growth, not simply your current circumstances. Something huge is waiting in the next chapter, because the real opportunity may begin with a conversation, a meeting, an introduction, a piece of knowledge, or a door that gives you access to people you could never reach alone. Stay till the end, because the next revelation will explain why the millionaire was willing to take that first step toward you. And here is the twist: they are not impressed because you already have everything. They are impressed because you have learned how to build with what you have. Don't underestimate that. Resources can accelerate progress, but they cannot replace discipline, vision, character, or the willingness to learn. So if your life feels quiet right now, don't assume nothing is happening. Keep developing. Keep preparing. Keep becoming. Because sometimes the most surprising chapter begins long before anyone else realizes you were ready for it. The millionaire finally makes the decision that changes the entire atmosphere. I want to meet this person. My beloved child, imagine hearing those words after spending so long believing that nobody significant was paying attention. But don't rush past this moment, because the most important part isn't the millionaire's wealth, it is what caused them to move from curiosity to genuine interest. They have seen the work. They have heard the story. They have asked questions. And now they want to understand the person behind everything they discovered. Stay till the end, because the next revelation is the detail that makes this meeting different from an ordinary introduction. Don't skip, because they are not arriving with a suitcase of promises. They are arriving with questions. What are you building? What do you believe is possible? What would you change if you had better resources? And suddenly, the conversation becomes a test. Not a test of whether you deserve success, but a test of whether you understand your own vision. Something huge is waiting here because the person sitting across from you may have more resources than you can imagine, but they cannot answer these questions for you. You must know what you want to create before someone else can help you create it. Then the millionaire notices something unexpected. You don't immediately ask what they can give you. You don't begin with money. You begin with your idea. You explain why it matters. You explain what you have learned. You explain where you struggled and how those struggles shaped your approach. And suddenly, the millionaire understands why the person who introduced you kept saying your name. Stay till the end, because this is where the fictional story delivers its strongest twist. The millionaire wasn't searching for someone who needed a wealthy person. They were searching for someone whose potential could become significantly larger with the right environment. Don't skip, because they now ask the question that can change the entire direction of your future. If I gave you access, not unlimited money, but access to the right people, knowledge, and resources, what would you do first? Think carefully about that question. What would you do? Would you learn? Build? Create? Expand? Solve something? Help your family? Create opportunities for others? The answer matters because opportunity is not only about receiving something. It is about knowing what to do when something finally becomes available. And now comes the moment the title has been building toward. The millionaire looks at you and says, "You know what surprised me? You were already doing the hard part before anyone noticed." My beloved child, let that sentence sink in. Something huge is waiting in that realization. Not a guaranteed millionaire, not an instant financial transformation, but the possibility of finally understanding that your unseen work still counts. The days nobody applauded counted. The skills you developed quietly counted. The mistakes you learned from counted. The times you started again counted. Stay till the end, because the final part of this story will reveal what happens after the millionaire decides to take the next step. And why their interest may be less about your current success and more about the future they believe you could build. Don't skip, because the most surprising revelation is still ahead. The person who once felt invisible is suddenly being asked to think bigger. And perhaps the deeper message behind this entire fictional story is simple: don't wait until somebody powerful sees your potential before you start treating it seriously. Build as though your future matters now, because it does.